Welcome back to the show. Reynoso and Soltero here with some reactions to the CONMEBOL results that happened this past international break. We've got some interesting results, brother. We got some interesting results happening over in South America as they are on the journey for the World Cup in 2026. When you look at the table, what is the first thing that sticks out to you based off of where these teams are now ranked?
Honestly, the first thing, and it's the most obvious one, is that Argentina are in first place.
Again.
And not only that, separation starting to become apparent. 5-point gap now between Argentina and the next best side, which is Uruguay. And you just watch Argentine football the last Jesus.
Careful now, man.
4 or 5 straight years. This makes so much sense. I mean, we're talking about back-to-back Copa America champions. We're talking about reigning World Cup champions as well. It makes sense that they are still the best team in CONMEBOL. Last time out in the last World Cup cycle, Brazil. It was Brazil and Argentina neck and neck. Now, it's looking like it's just Argentina.
Just Argentina and everybody else. Best team in the world. I mean, that's the title that they're carrying, and I think they carry that title with pride. And you see it in games like today, getting a result against Peru. Lautaro Martinez scoring the lone goal, with Messi getting an assist in that match to make him the joint top assister in international football alongside, can you guess?
Oh. So is it a modern player?
Yeah, 2000s, after 2000s.
Okay. Dang.
Yeah. 58 international assists. He's joint top assist man now.
Dang,
alongside this guy.
This is fun trivia. Because like who's a really good assister, but at the international level?
Yes.
An international game. Dang, man.
Nah, bro, this one
I don't know.
blew my mind.
Who is it?
Landon Donovan.
What? No way.
Landon Donovan. And so I'm seeing on my feed photos of Messi holding Donovan's hand right now, bro. You know how hard that is for me to comprehend? I was like, what the hell is going on here?
That's crazy.
But then you look at the charts, and Donovan just spammed assists in a weak CONCACAF region, and he was good at it. He was really good at it, and just facilitated.
That makes sense. I was gonna guess like a weaker region. I was gonna say like some Japanese player or something like that. But wow, that makes a lot of sense. Good for Donovan, man. What a stat.
Crazy stat.
Yeah, it's fun.
Ultimately will end up being surpassed by Messi, I would guess. When I look at the CONMEBOL table, I agree. Argentina being first is just such a statement. But for me, the biggest shock is Ecuador in third, Colombia fourth. Because the way we've spoken about Colombia, the way that many people have spoken about Colombia, and what we saw the Copa America, we regard this team as one of the hottest teams in the world, one of the best teams in the world, one of the best 11s. After 12 games, both teams haven't played 12 games now. Ecuador is actually on top of them due to goal difference, tied on points at 19. And Ecuador specifically got a result today against Colombia as well, defeating them 1-0 despite going down a man in the 30th minute. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, and technically, Ecuador have 3 points taken away from them. So they actually have even more points than it looks like.
So should we keep sleeping on them, or what should we keep doing, bro?
This is what's confusing, man. Yeah. So I want to look at Colombia here, because you look at their last 2 games, it looks like this was a very poor window. 2 losses, and it was against teams that you would have hoped Colombia would have shown up against and proven to the rest of South America that, hey, we're top dog, we're right behind Argentina. But no, they end up losing. Watching both games, though, I'm not worried about Colombia. I'm not worried one bit. I need to see this team perform way worse for a long period of time before I start ringing the alarm bells. And that first game against Uruguay, honestly, was end-to-end. Uruguay were at home. The crowd was fantastic. Uruguay looked up for it. They had a really bad October and September themselves, so they were looking to kind of just get back on track. And so they were doing everything they could against a very good Colombia side. So I actually give Colombia credit that they equalized at the death, made it 2-2, and then Uruguay just had magic, bro. They scored a late stoppage time winner, win the game 3-2. I'm not going to put Colombia down for that. That was just an incredible match. And then the game today against Ecuador, honestly, I have a very similar take here. Ecuador get a early lead with Ener Valencia, by the way. Dude, winding the clock back.
Oh, my God,
Oh,
dude.
my God. Dude, if Valencia could play like that every game, Ecuador, they'd have one of the best offenses in the damn continent, man. But he's so inconsistent that you're just not going to get that. So they take the early lead. They also go down a man, but Colombia had 3-4 chances in that first half that they just should have put away and that they would have put away in any other circumstance. I just think there's just a little bit of, maybe just a little bit of bad luck finally for this Colombian side. They would have equalized any other day. They would have taken the lead any other day. I'm not worried about Colombia.
It's interesting because then it brings up a question of how indicative is the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying table now, with all these teams 6 out of 10 getting automatic qualification, the 7th being an interconfederation playoff. I mean, like Brazil in 5th. Is that indicative of what they've been as a team these past 12 games? I wouldn't say so, but I think it's a little tricky. And so I kind of do agree with you when I see Colombia in 4th. I mean, they're 1 point away from 2nd place. If they had flipped the result against Ecuador today, they would be clearly in 2nd place right now.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of disappointed that they didn't, but I'm with you. I'm not worried at all whatsoever. And I just give Ecuador credit at the end of the day, surviving that attack from Colombia and having a really good window to not have themselves in 3rd place at this moment. But that was one of the things that stood out to me the most, because Ecuador, I think, has just been kind of quiet, kind of underrated in a way since the Copa America, and has just continued getting pretty steady results.
Yeah, and I've low-key been hating on Ecuador for the last couple of months simply because I'd always imagined they'd have a more fun offense. And that really hasn't come to be the case. But instead, we get what you just said. They're really consistent now. They may not dazzle the way that their squad looks like they could, but they're getting results like they've never gotten results before. So I can't ignore that anymore. And I think at the end of the day, what Ecuador are proving to be is very solid defensively and at best, very, very scrappy offensively, which is enough to get a goal or two and maybe get a clean sheet.
Yeah, and this is what's interesting, man. Ecuador has less losses than Argentina. They survived being down a man for 60 minutes today and did not concede. And they have the least amount of goals conceded in the entire region with only 4 in 12 matches. Argentina in 7. Do they have the best defense in South America?
I think so. Ultimately, what we're seeing over these last 12 matches, the consistency that Ecuador possess, it's in their defense.
That is really interesting because, like, in a big game, a high-impact game, I'm still going to go with Argentina's, but I still think the fact that Ecuador is even in the conversation is really, really surprising because I guess I did see that's one of their strongest points, but it's improved. I think it's getting better. I think it really is getting better. So props to Ecuador now in 3rd place. What else stands out to you, man? What else stands out to you in this region?
I got to mention my boys Paraguay, man. I got to mention them, bro. So Argentina sit top of the table, but they actually took a loss this international break, and it was against Paraguay in Asunción, which has proven to become a fortress just over the last couple of months, by the way. I noted this rise of Paraguayan football starting in September, really taking form in October, and I'll go ahead and say it is continued into this month of November by beating the best team in South America in Argentina and getting a draw against Bolivia. We'll talk about that at the end. I do want to mention Bolivia. That maybe we'll transition to that, but right now, Paraguay, man, this is the best football I've seen from a Paraguay national team literally since they were in the World Cup in 2010. I don't know if I've said that before, but I'm going to keep saying that because this Paraguayan team is destined to go to the World Cup. I think they're the Peru 2018. That's I think who they're going to be in 2026. I think a lot of people are going to look at their squad come World Cup time and be like, okay, we see Enciso and Almiron, that's it. But here's the thing, the rest of the squad shows up.
That's true.
The teamwork, the chemistry that I'm seeing from Paraguay is phenomenal, man. Everybody's showing up. Defensively, they're completely committed. And then not only that, you get players like Tony Sanabria scoring bicycle kicks. There's absolutely ridiculous moments. Gomez as well, Inter Miami's product, just going off in these international windows. So right now, things are really jamming for Paraguay, and I'd love to see it.
I wish you could transport Asunción to the States.
I wish, man. I wish.
Because here's the thing. They play that way in South America. They play that way at home. But just a few months ago, We saw what happened when they played here in the States, which, by the way, will be hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. That's my biggest worry.
Yeah.
Is how do they play outside of where they're comfortable? Because the way they play when they are comfortable is really attractive, really likable football, getting results once again. 6th place with 17 points. Now a 4-point gap between them and Bolivia, a team that they faced off against and got a result that pissed you off.
It was in Bolivia, man. And Bolivia get the draw. Dude, we gotta go to Bolivia. I need to breathe that sweet Bolivian air, man.
I need to know. I don't know why I'm still skeptical, bro. I'm still somewhat like, what's going on, bro? What's going on? I mean, they host Paraguay, and at one point it looked like they were going to beat them. Paraguay get back into the game. Bolivia then responds, get that second goal, and then finally Julio Enciso ties it 2-2 for Paraguay. But Bolivia still getting a point at the end of the day, I think, is a victory here. They're in 7th place now. They're in 7th place now with 13 points, 1 point difference between them and the next closest team in Venezuela. I think that's the biggest talking point, honestly, when it comes to strictly who qualifies. Is it going to be Bolivia or is it going to be Venezuela? And does a team like Chile have any chance after the result they got today?
Dude, what has happened to Venezuela, man?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. To see them in 8th place out of any sort of qualifying contention, it just rubs me the absolute wrong way. You see the way they play. You see the players that they have at their disposal. You see the coach and his passion on the sideline, and also the fans in the stands. And you see some of the results, drawing Brazil. Mm-hmm. But then they lose to Chile. Mm-hmm. And that just can't happen, especially when they had taken a 2-1 lead, but then they went on to concede 3 straight goals.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just such poor game management for Venezuela. But that's what I noted in the October window. Venezuela played great football for 40 minutes. You never know when it's going to be. Could be in the first half, could be in the second half. But in the flip side, they play absolutely terribly. And it costs them every single time. And if it ends up costing them a 7th place spot, then I'm going to be so disappointed because there's so much talent in this side.
Yeah, and after what we saw in the Copa America, I mean, you would think that that's a World Cup qualifying team at the very least, but they can't manage games, bro. They can't manage games. Only 2 victories this entire campaign out of 12 matches, whereas Bolivia has at least won 4. That's twice as much. Yeah. And Venezuela has tied the most matches in all of South America with 6, man. That tells me that they don't know how to either hold the lead or how to break a tie, break a deadlock to get those crucial 3 points. It's going to suck, man. It's going to suck if we end up missing out on Rondon in the United States, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to hate it.
I, in no disrespect to Bolivia, just because the way that Bolivia played at the Copa America, I don't want to see that. It also scares me too. I don't want to see that, bro. So I'm going to trust Venezuela, even with their inconsistencies, to have a better summer tournament. I want to see Venezuela at the World Cup, or at the very least, in that 7th place spot for an interconfederational playoff.
It'd be crazy if Venezuela loses out on the World Cup to a team that has conceded 27 goals, bro. Oh my God. I'm just now seeing this, bro. That's insane. That is insane. Even the second worst, Chile, has only conceded 20, man. God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about Chile, because they just got the victory against Venezuela 4-2 at home and kind of keep themselves in the conversation now with a few games remaining in the World Cup qualifying cycle. Is there any possibility for Chile, 4 points away, against these shaky Bolivia and Venezuela sides? Is there any possibility? Should they be hopeful? Or if you're Chilean, should you just not even trick yourself into hoping?
I gotta see their schedule. So they go away to Paraguay, no chance. They host Ecuador, but the way Ecuador are playing right now, man, there's just no way. Then Argentina, no chance.
They got Argentina. They got Bolivia away from home. They got to go to Bolivia's house, man.
God. Oh, they don't even play Peru again.
They might have the hardest schedule.
Oh, yeah, no. They're not.
Brazil and Uruguay. Chile's done.
Chile's done.
No, I shouldn't have asked that. Peru in last place.
Yeah, I don't.
Damn, bro. Yeah, losing to Argentina today and then tying Chile a couple days ago. 7 points for Peru. The last two teams that we have left to talk about, Brazil and Uruguay, who faced off today and tied 1-1.
Yeah, for Brazil to be in 5th place, I think this does make sense. They are mid. And mid's not a bad thing because that means you're at least average. And I think this Brazil side is average. Now, for a Brazilian to be average, I think that's a higher average than, let's say most other nationalities. So it ends up being decent football that you get to see. But this Brazil side, as we noted in September, after this really bad Copa America they had, they just lack a lot of, that samba, that joga bonito. It's just not there. And we see it once again with 2 draws. Against Venezuela, on the road, tough match, but you got to be Venezuela, man. If you are Brazil and you consider yourself to be, top 2, top 3 side in South America, you got to beat Venezuela, right? And then the draw against Uruguay, I'll take that. But you're also at home, Why not try and make a statement, go for a big win here? It's not that Brazil are playing bad, because they're not. But I just don't think they're playing particularly well. So I think 5th place just makes so much sense, dead center.
Yeah, I just can never get past that fact, though, because it's Brazil. I always have to mention, I always have to, remind myself that this team is a powerhouse when it comes to football. They're just in a really tough and bad era, honestly. And it showed today, it showed in these past 2 games where they went down to Uruguay. Uruguay got the lead first, and then they had to work their way back into the game. And I'm just surprised by how much tinkering I'm seeing with this Brazilian lineup. Gerson getting minutes in the midfield now and actually being the guy who scored the goal for Brazil. But then in that left back position, Abner, the fullback from Lyon, getting minutes. We have Igor Jesus, who's going off for Botafogo, getting minutes as well. Like it's showing signs of desperation, almost, of trying to figure out some sort of formula that brings better football for this Brazilian team. As of late, it has gotten a little bit better than how it started off, so I will give them credit for that, but they're far from being the elite team that we once knew, and that will never stop shocking me.
Yeah, that's such a great point. You consider the fact that Brazil and the United States is usually a really good combination as far as just being in the land of entertainment, stars going off. But with this Brazil side, man, it's going to be grim, or at least going to be a very rude awakening, hard. Man. Yeah. It's going to be hard. Yeah. So I just think how Brazil figured this out, I just don't see a clear path, man. And for some reason, I thought Dorival Jr. was just going to be an interim manager, but it looks like he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Looks like he's going to be the guy.
Because the longer they wait to replace him, the closer the tournament gets. And I just don't see any coach out there that is worth taking on this job, especially after Pep Guardiola today agreed to Manchester City for another year. That was potentially going to be an option. Is it Ancelotti perhaps might be on his way out with Real Madrid? Maybe that's the one. I don't know. But for now, Dorival Jr. does seem to be the guy, and I'm just surprised because I'm already seeing Vegas odds for who are favorites to potentially lift the World Cup in 2026. And Brazil's still in the top 5, bro.
Damn.
They're still in the top 5. And so I'm just thinking to get to that level, they still have a long way to go, man, in my opinion. So a lot of work to do. Whereas Uruguay gets a tie here and remains now in 2nd place as the 2nd best team now in South America, despite the fiery start that Colombia had and the defensive fortress that Ecuador has proven to be. Uruguay continues playing really well.
Yeah, this was actually a big window for Uruguay, given the fact that they had really dropped in September and October. But they're back on track, man. They really are. Getting a huge win against Colombia. Very dramatic. Also, just quick shout out to Rodrigo Aguirre, ex-Monterrey, now America player. He just made his debut, dude. He's 30 years old.
That's crazy.
Insane,
Uruguay does do that, though.
It's
they
cool.
do that, yeah.
I love that. I love that Uruguay do that. And for Aguirre specifically, just because, he's worked so hard. Considering that he played in Ecuador, scored so many goals there, then went to Monterrey, now is with America. He's just such a hard worker. And on his debut, he actually scored as well in that game against Colombia. And he almost broke down in tears. It was just so beautiful to see. You work so hard in your career when you're a teenager. hoping you play for your country and doesn't come till you're 30.
Dude, that's a long time.
It's insane.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. I think most players would expect for it to arrive like before you're 24, man.
Yeah.
And it's at 30, but fuck it, man. By that time, he's got a family, he's got kids and shit. Like, he's celebrating with a group of people now, man.
Yeah.
That must be dope.
So dope. And so that just added to the emotion of that really dramatic win against Colombia. And then they get a really good draw on the road against Brazil. You take that any day of the week. So Bielsa specifically really needed this. Betancourt's back into the midfield. He makes an immediate impact and stabilizes that midfield alongside Ugarte, who can do the box-to-box. And, of course, you have Valverde, who also scored today against Brazil. So for Uruguay, this was really important. They're back on track. It's good to see.
I think that's it for the table that we're looking at right now. Let me ask you one final question just to get clarity. Who gets that 7th spot? Who gets it?
Yeah. I'm going Venezuela. I'm going Venezuela, and I'm going to give them everything I have to get that 7th spot. I think Paraguay is on a rise that will keep them above that 7th spot.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever say Brazil is going to be out of a World Cup. I'm not going to play with that. Yeah. And the top 4 are just too good.
It's so close, bro. It's so close. And fuck it, I'll go Bolivia.
Yeah?
I'll go Bolivia. How many home games did they have left? Yeah, 3 out of 6 are home games.
Oh, shit.
3 out of 6. And they face off against generally weaker teams. Peru, Venezuela, Chile.
Wow.
And then Uruguay, Colombia, Brazil.
It's not bad.
It's not bad in Venezuela. With 6 games remaining. Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia. It's a little tougher.
That Venezuela-Bolivia game.
Yeah.
That could create some separation for either side if they can get a victory. So that's going to be huge in Venezuela. But yeah, Venezuela have a little tougher, but I'm still going Venezuela, man. I need to see him. Here in the States.
Yeah, that's the thing about this format. Like, these are the match days that we've been waiting for. This is when it's actually going to get exciting because because most teams do end up qualifying. It's really only one place that we're seeing some drama, and we're going to get some for that final spot, the 7th place spot in CONMEBOL rankings. Folks, let us know, what did you think about the results in CONMEBOL this international window? How did your team do, and how do you feel about them going forward? Till next time, guys. Peace.